Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes and welcome to the difficult subject of the grooming gang inquiry. We have to call it that because, YouTube doesn't like the R word not too early in a video anyway. But thanks to the Casey report, the government has been forced humiliatingly into a U-turn over having an inquiry. They don't want an inquiry. It's quite clear. And we're going to see why, well, one of the reasons anyway, why, in what I'm about to tell you here. There are questions, before we get into this, there are questions about the shape of the inquiry. Will, for example, Westminster officials, Whitehall officials, be included within the remit? Will they be questioned under oath? Will sitting and ex-parliamentarians be included in the remit? Will they be questioned under oath? One of which is a minister, a Labour minister in housing. Will current and past councillors, chief of police, senior policemen, etc., social workers, who's going to be questioned under oath? Who is going to be doing it? Is it going to be an inquiry that will have the ability to press charges against people? Will it be a full judicial inquiry? That sort of thing. There's a lot of questions being asked, and as far as Labour are concerned, they're very awkward questions and questions they don't really want to answer, at least not until they've had a good look and had some very, very serious legal advice. That's where that is. But the current housing minister, and this is where we're going with this, the current housing minister is a man called Jim McMahon. He led Oldham Council between 2011 and 2016. And during his period of time as council leader, there was a strategy within the council to deal with CSE, child, exploitation. It was called Messenger, and it was clear what the message was. And this is where it gets very greasy, very dark, and very embarrassing for Labour, because I'm sure that this one in Oldham was not going to be the only one around the country. It did not mention in any way, shape or form in reports, police reports, council reports, child safety reports, anything about the ethnicity of victims or perpetrators. And a 2022 report into the council's own conduct with regard to these gangs said that the council, and these are what their words are, articulated a concern that there could be assumptions made about in the media that and the public at large, that these the CSE, this child exploitation, was carried out by men from an ethnic background against predominantly white girls. Now, as the Casey report found out, that was, well, exactly what was happening. So this, quote, public assumption was in fact reality. Now, Labour is, and this is where it gets very, very weird, Labour are now currently defending McMahon, a man now who is provably covered up what was going on, to some extent at least. A spokesman for the party has said, and I've got to read this to you, Jim was explicit and vocal, saying as leader of Oldham Council, long before many others would, that to do so would not be helping the victims nor the Asian community at large. To suggest this was in any way downplayed defies the evidence. I'm sorry. To say that is the evidence. It's not downplaying it. His claims that we're downplaying the ethnicity of the perpetrators is the problem. He's going, and they're trying to spin this round. They're trying to make him the victim of this report. No, he's not the victim. He's aiding the perpetrators. That makes him a perpetrator. This is why the Labour Party are so absolutely shit scared of holding a full inquiry, because he won't be the only one. Up and down the country, in Labour-controlled councils, left, right and centre, there's going to be hundreds of them. Labour's always had a problem with the Ps, hasn't it? All back from the early days, even, with Pye and, the mouthpiece for them, Harriet Harman. The current Labour MP for Telford, Sean Davis, he was the leader of Telford and Wrekin Council. He wrote to the government in 2016, and he was rejecting a call for an inquiry. Back then, he didn't want the call. He said, "We don't feel that a full inquiry is necessary at this time, at a time when community cohesion is so important." In other words, please God, don't have an inquiry, because it'll just reveal who's doing terrible things to these children. And we all know who is doing terrible things to these children. And 3 years later, there was an inquiry. 2019, there was an inquiry. It was the Crowther inquiry, which showed exactly what we all knew all along. One little group was doing this to the other little group. And now, of course, you've also got Jess Phillips, a woman sitting on a margin, a victory margin so thin that she complains about a curry and she's gone. She's out. But she's also rejected an inquiry from Oldham Council. Again, because she wants to keep her seat, because she knows who has done what. And she knows that her majority is razor thin and depends on the people doing it to children. She's actually effectively, in Parliament, voted in by PEDs. That's the truth of Jess Phillips' position. Her margin is so small. And any statutory inquiry must look at all officials, regardless of their current position in authority, be it from the PM down. And I'm not for one moment saying that the PM is involved in anything like that, but I'm saying the position because nobody must be exempt or deemed to be above the law or unworthy of being investigated in full and in depth, and ultimately prosecuted and sent to jail for an extremely long time. Because if you're covering up the rape of children, then you do the time, because you're no different from those actually doing the crime. And I would love to see Jess Phillips locked away, dirty, greasy Jess Phillips in a dirty, greasy cell. Let's show her what the soap was for. A horrible, horrible woman. But they all are. It's Labour through and through. No wonder they're so against having this. Labour, the party of the PED, the predator, and the perv. Thanks very much. Bye.